Okay. There we go. All right. So confirmation of recording. So good afternoon, everyone. Lovely to be hosting another WIT Network event. I'm very pleased to say there's a lot of names on the call that I don't know, which is fantastic. It's always wonderful having new people joining us. And our group of people every time we meet is a little bit different, and some new people, new insight. So welcome to everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lauren, and I'm the head of people for an IT company, and am definitely not what I would have described as a tech person. And now I'm quite happy to say that I work in tech. I never would have imagined that. I certainly would never have imagined how close HR and technology would become. You know, gone are the days of HR being the back corner, dark and dingy, and everyone just waiting patiently for their pay slips. It's quite evolved a lot, and technology plays a big role. And the WIT network has been a great environment to just see all those opportunities in the space and just what people's journeys are. So welcome to everybody today. As I just said a little bit earlier, we've had over 75 registrations for today, which is wonderful. There were a lot of people who couldn't make it. So the recording will be going onto our YouTube channel and shared with you guys. But I'm particularly excited about today's topic. So firstly, I'm going to put her on the spot and say a very big thank you to Natasha for introducing me to Michelle. I see Michelle's turned her camera off. Michelle, put your camera back on. There's Michelle. So Natasha, who's been a long-time WIT member, introduced me to Michelle. And through Michelle, I've got to learn about WICYS and women, which is the Women in Cybersecurity Network. And just within a space of a couple of months, just putting this collaborative event together. It's hugely insightful, and just getting to see who's going to be speaking today, what we're going to be talking about, and just the initiative that we want to run based off today's content. So Natasha, thank you for the introduction to Michelle. And Michelle, thank you for coordinating and organizing our wonderful and highly esteemed speakers for this afternoon. And to those of you who've just joined the call, welcome. We're going to move straight into the event because we've got 5 fantastic speakers lined up, and really, really exciting. So as you all would have seen, and as you all would know from the invite, our focus today is around cybersecurity and cyber awareness. And I think it's just such a topical conversation. But before I move on, Ilana has just moved to the top of my screen and a light bulb's gone off. So before I jump to the slide and introduce our speakers, Ilana, you wanted to have our attention for a couple of seconds. Those people who've been on LinkedIn would know why. But if you haven't been on LinkedIn, Ilana, give a wave, Ilana, so everyone knows which one is you. There we go. That's Ilana. And Ilana is from Microsoft South Africa, and you've got something exciting to share with us.
Thanks so much, Lara. Thank you again for the invitation. I always get so excited about these sessions and connecting with all these wonderful women. I can't wait for the speakers today. But what I wanted to share with everyone on the call today, I'm so extremely excited to announce that also through this network, actually, I met Colleen at Business Engage. I think it was in October or November last year in one of these sessions. And we've just partnered together to drive what we're calling the Women Take IT to the Stage initiative. This is a really awesome initiative for women who've had at least 3 years experience in the Microsoft technology, but don't have the confidence to stand up on stage, to come to this academy where we will give training around personal branding, storytelling, stage presence, how to handle stage fright, Colleen's got some really amazing external speakers coming in as well. And then post that, we'll link it into a Microsoft mentor as well, who will then mentor these women through this academy, you know, and then be able to give them the confidence to stand up on stage, because we have realized that, you know, there's not enough female technical speakers at technical conferences. And this is something that we are very, very excited to launch today. And it is going to kick off on the 8th of April. So we're really tight on registrations. I think you can see it. I posted in the WIT network as well on LinkedIn. So please do have a look there. I'll share it here as well. Send out the registrations to your network, and please, let's make this really awesome. But thank you for the opportunity to share that. And I hope to see a lot of the people on this call on this academy as well.
Such an awesome initiative, Ilana, and I'm thrilled. I have forwarded and shared it far and wide because I just think it's incredible, and that is what we're all here for, is giving women a voice to raise their profile, and I think the biggest goal for all of us is that somebody's watching you and somebody can see that this can be done. And I think that's the most exciting thing, is that I just always come back to the fact that we're goal models for young women, and this is where they can go. This is what they can be doing. And speaking publicly requires some skills and confidence, but it's amazing, and it opens so many doors. So very, very cool. Thanks.
And then one other thing I did want to share with this audience as well is just to remind you that I do have until the end of June, I do have some exam vouchers, Microsoft exam vouchers specifically for this audience and for this network. So please reach out to me if there is an exam that you'd like to write, and we'd love to sponsor that for you.
Ilana, won't you just pop your email address in the chat, please, so that people can just find you easily there?
Will do. Thanks.
Awesome.
Looking forward to a great session today. Thank you.
Awesome. So ladies and some gents, I know there are some gents and some dads on the call that are getting their daughters to listen in today. So as I said, our topic today is cybersecurity and cyber awareness, just such an interesting and important topic. The obvious is everybody's watched the Tinder swindler, or you've heard about the Tinder swindler. And so this is now highlighting how quick and easy it is to be scammed or to be taken in. But more importantly, I think for me, what it highlighted, and it was quite serendipitous, how there was all this hype about the Tinder swindler, and then I met Michelle and we landed up having this conversation, and I was like, this has happened to somebody I know, who is intelligent, who is worldly and experienced, and they kind of fell for it, and how their security was compromised. And so I think cybersecurity and cyber awareness are incredibly important topics, but they are very complex. And so what I'm really pleased with today is that we have this group of ladies, an incredible amount of experience and knowledge and just expertise around this topic, to not only give us the information today that you're going to come away light bulbs on going, oh my word, look what I know, but more particularly that visibility around their roles and their journey and where they are and how they got there, is understanding all these opportunities that are available. So really very excited for today. I have included their LinkedIn, but I see that when my presentation was being worked on versus when it's being presented on, my colors have gone unfriendly. And so I will update that, but you do have their names there. You can easily find them on LinkedIn and connect or follow them. And I just, I think from my perspective, what is really valuable here, and is what is really kind of interesting and important, is around this affects everybody. So sure, this is a woman in technology and a women in cybersecurity, a collaborative event, and our purpose, our cross purpose, is around equipping women and educating women and giving this information, but it's also just really understanding this reality that we face today. So this is not a reality that our moms and our grandparents face. This is not something that was a concern 15 years ago or beyond. You know, there was, for those of you, some of you might not believe this, but there was life before Facebook and Instagram, generations of life, centuries of life. And this was not a worry back then. Okay, and I think just this topic is so relevant and so interesting. And so really, I just want to say a very big thank you to our 5 speakers today. And without further ado, Bhavani, we're going to kick off with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lauren, and good afternoon, everybody. It's so good to be here today. My name is Bhavani Chetty. I'm from Deloitte, and I'm a senior manager in our practice. I look after our cyber crisis and resilience business. So that means I'm the lady that they call normally on a Friday afternoon when something's gone wrong and there's been a hack at a client. So, you know, there's commonly a misconception that cyber is all about hackers. I'm not a hacker. I am an infrastructure engineer who moved over into cyber. So I started out my career at PwC. In IT support, fixing people's printers and dealing with crying PAs when they couldn't get things working, and eventually worked my way up into the infrastructure team where I built PwC's DR infrastructure. So I built their DR data center as well as supported their production one and built their SAN infrastructure. So data became my love, and so did resilience. And from there, I moved to Deloitte's IT team. And that's when I got into IT disaster recovery, because everybody needs an infrastructure engineer to build out DR. And that's where I got my taste of cyber, because clients were starting to experience cyber incidents. And those cyber incidents meant that they needed to recover systems. So my journey didn't start in cyber. It didn't start as a hacker, as people think they are. It didn't start as a programmer. I had found my way into cyber purely from an infrastructure perspective, and it was needed there. The other thing I've done at Deloitte is we have a SOC, which is Security Operations Center, which is 24/7, 365 monitoring of our clients' environments. And you need an infrastructure engineer to onboard devices into the SOC so you can start monitoring it. Somebody needs to understand how they work. So as an infrastructure engineer, there was great value for me. It was easy for me. I could do some of it in my sleep, I think, from having to work with it for all the years. And that's how I found my ground. But I also want to share with the group today. I lead the Women in Cyber initiative for Deloitte Africa. And we are proudly in our Africa team, 40% women in our cyber team at the moment. And some of the ladies did not start anywhere even close to IT. They like Lauren, who started in HR. I have in my team one of the brightest cyber specialists who works in our strategy team. And Samantha's an architect. And I don't mean IT architect. She's a building architect. I walk into a data center with Samantha and she tells me about the structural integrity of the data center, the building, not just that. And she's been able to transition into cyber. I've worked with Aisha, and Aisha's a chemical engineer. She qualified as a chemical engineer, came to Deloitte and found that her love and her passion was cyber. So to all the ladies out there who think maybe you're in a different field at the moment, there is a possibility for you to transition into cyber. One of my coaches and mentors, Nombolelo, started in third-party risk management. She's a lawyer. So she's a lawyer, and there was a need for her because why? We have IT systems that reside with third parties. We need to look at those contracts. So there is a place. There's a place for every woman, irrespective of your background. There's a place for every man as well, irrespective of your background, into cyber. And with that, I want to share with you what my views on what cyber is. Give me a second. I'm going to say the typical Teams message. Let me know when you can see my screen, please.
Yes, we can.
Awesome, thank you. And this is my take on cyber through the looking glass. So, you know, there's a saying from Lewis Carroll. Do you know, I always thought unicorns were fabulous monsters too. I never saw one alive. Well, now that we've seen each other, said the unicorn, if you believe in me, I'll believe in you. And today, I hope that through my session, I get to show you what cyber is and that you understand what this business that resides outside of us really is, what this organization called cyber really is. And I want to ask you, and please pop it in the chat. Can you tell me of a business that has all of these features? A business that is global, a business that is profitable, that is integrated, innovative, flexible, and embedded. And there's very few out there that could do that. But actually, this business is cyber. And the reason for that is it is an underground or underworld business, it's the same, I suppose, in some ways, like the drug business. Cyber exists somewhere. It's a profitable business because those attackers out there are making money off of these attacks that they launch onto our engagements. They're innovative. As much as we as cybersecurity professionals are constantly innovating and trying to protect our environment, so are the attackers. They're flexible, right? They don't have 8 to 5s like you and I do. They can work as they need to. And they're global. So if we look at the recent hacks, the TransUnion hack, that was claimed, if you look at media, that was claimed by a group in Brazil. So anybody is able to get attacked. And there is a business that exists out there called cyber. And there are people investing in the cyber business. It's not a unicorn. It's not a myth. It exists. And there's a need for it. And this is why I encourage young individuals, young ladies all the time. Cyber is not going anywhere. Can you see a profitable, global, embedded, innovative business going anywhere in the next couple of decades? Or probably in the next century? Highly unlikely. If I ask every single one of you, all of you are speaking to me at the moment on a device. All of you have most likely 1 or 2 other devices around you that keep you connected, that keep you constantly connected and available. You need to be connected. Imagine your day. I take a drive out of my driveway, and if my car doesn't tell me that my phone is connected, I immediately go back. I can't live without my phone. And many people are the same. And our attackers know that. They know that irrespective of whether you're a business and you need to protect your data or whether you're an individual, we're reliant on phones. My teenage daughter is exactly the same. If I want to punish my kids for anything, I take away their mobile devices. It's the end of the world. But that's how reliant our youth are, as well as all of us are, on cyber. And without consideration for this, we're not going to go anywhere. All right, so let's talk about this cyber as a business competitor. And this is something that I think each of us need to understand. The attackers are not just there going after specific individuals. They'll get anybody that they can get their hands on. Because why? They've got a global workforce. They've got a workforce that knows no jurisdictions. There's no laws that govern them. Yes, there's laws that would, if we catch them, we can do something about it. But they've got resources across the world. We've seen hacker groups through threat intelligence that reside in multiple countries. Trying to get that litigation against them when they reside in different places is very difficult, because you could have an attacker coming into your environment, one coming from, Russia, the next from West Korea, the next from Africa. How do you actually prosecute those individuals in all those jurisdictions? So those are the challenges we face as cyber professionals. And I want to add, this is a place where we can see if you're in the legal field, there's a space for you in cyber, because we need that level of skill. We need those testimonies that get written by specialist legal professionals in order to get us to fight this war against these cyber attackers. It's innovative. I've mentioned already. The more we put in new controls, the more we try and stop these attackers. You hear about this thing called 0 day. So 0 day is a vulnerability that exists before any of the vendors can actually put in a patch to fix it. And attackers know how to exploit this. They're constantly researching on their sides to make sure that they can do this. They've got flexible business models. And one might laugh about this, but I've been in so many cyber incidents where attackers have actually come in and negotiated. If you can't pay me in this way, you can maybe pay me in another way. So they even have, as far as I've seen it, where attackers have their own websites with PayPal, with different ways in which you can transfer Bitcoin or even funds into their accounts. So they're able to move and change their business model to actually suit how it works for them to get money out of you. They're integrated. So it doesn't matter which industry you're in. They're able to move between any one of them. They don't need that expertise like we do to go into specific areas. They will jump straight into any organization and try and get what they need to. They've got relationships across boards. You've got the insider threat as an example that could come into your organization. It could be somebody within your organization. It could be somebody you know that's coming out and assisting these attackers. And finally, do you think that these attackers are paying tax? So maybe some of this money comes into their accounts, but they've got multiple accounts. It gets laundered in specific ways. And these are things that we don't have to think, we have to think about as normal individuals that pay tax, but these attackers don't. So again, they've got a tangible business that can erode and create value. So this information I'm sharing now, these stats are from 2016. And the reason why I wanted to put 2016 values in here is to show you that, 6 years ago, this was already something that was building. This was already something that was growing. These underground markets can triple clients' digital services by 200 million. The whole thing with this is they've also got services that they can deploy out to you. So in 2016, you could actually go onto the dark web and you could request a hacker as a service. And what they will do is your digital services, they charge you a weekly fee of $200 to disrupt business websites. $500 to release your business email addresses. There's a 40% profit share for successful attacks. So you can actually go as an individual. If you wanted to launch a cyber attack on someone, you could hire an attacker on the dark web, and they'll give you 60% of the profits that they get from the ransom, and they'll take 40% for themselves. So they're very negotiable. And if you look here on the right-hand side, they actually say, we provide conditions for repayments of funds. If you're not entirely satisfied, we're honest hackers. So that's a reality of it. It's a business that exists. It's something that's always going to be there. The question is, are we individuals with integrity that want to stand up against them and fight the cyber war? Or are we individuals that want to jump on the bandwagon and support these cyber criminals? Okay, so the next thing, the cyber climate change. I think the one thing COVID has actually taught us, and all these lockdowns have taught us, is that there's increasing need for connectivity. So now what we have is we initially had environments where we segregated things. We'd have most of our end users sitting on our networks in the office. So you went to work, you worked at your desk and you left. There wasn't so much remote use. And then obviously when COVID hit, there was more requirements from a lot of our manufacturers, a lot of organizations that would have used individuals, so human beings, to do some of the work. And what they've then gone and done is they've tried to automate as much as they could, because we had to reduce the amount of people in environments. So we had Internet of Things, we had OT technologies emerging. And what actually happens is, as this development happens, because it's happening so fast, we ended up with people having many gaping holes in their security. Because let's face it, I've worked with developers for years. Developers are ready to get their code out. They're not really worried about how secure that code is. There's very few of them that will. And then we come in as a security team afterwards to vet whether this is safe or not. And what actually happens is, these are where the attackers take advantage. They knew we were doing this, right? They were sitting in lockdown in their respective areas. They didn't have to leave their houses to do their job, which is hacking into our environments. And they were able to get through what we're doing. So we have connected platforms at the moment. They're growing in complexity. Every new platform needs to have access for different individuals. We needed to have additional authentication methods, etc. And each level of complexity that we added on leaves a door possibly open for these attackers if we're not careful. And then we had obviously criminal commerce. So during that period, we had seen a rise in these attackers that were pretending to be the good guy to try and help you secure environments. And using that to get out. The other thing we had during that time is, remember, a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people were in a position where they took salary cuts, and these attackers took advantage of that to go into those environments and say, help me to get access to your environment. So you had somebody allowing you into the environment. So let's talk about the different types of attackers. We've got nation states. These are sophisticated, dedicated social teams. They focus on nation states. These are the types of individuals that we try to focus on defense and increasing offensive campaigns. Some of these engage in industrial espionage and strategic goals and cybercrime to raise funds. So they do what they have to do to make sure that they're raising money. We've got employees and third parties. I mean, I mentioned this just now, the disgruntled employee because of things going wrong in their environment. Or the other thing we deal with very commonly in the cyberspace is accidents, right? The other day I was supporting a client on a phishing incident. And what had actually happened is the email came through and it looked very, very legitimate. The clients clicked on the attachment and it took them immediately to a page that looks exactly like their login page. So these attackers are very sophisticated. They spend time to make sure things look exactly as it should. And this is where, later on, when we go through the awareness training, you can see how that's going to actually help to make people recognize, because there's certain things that you can look out for to prevent that from happening. And then we've got the organized crime or the terrorists. These are people that use cyber to also mask their money laundering, to mask their drug trafficking. It's a business that is integrated into other levels of bad things, so to speak. So they use cyber as a way to, in other words, wash their money. So using the cyber Bitcoin that they collect from the cyber attacks, etc., to cover up their tracks for their drug dealings, as an example. And then lastly, contagion. And that's where the attack doesn't stop with the target. So what actually happens is, as organizations, you often have links to other organizations. And what would happen is if an attacker gets into one, they leverage that link to move into another one. So, these are some of the causes and effects that drive these attackers to continue doing what they do and build the cyber business, this unicorn as we know it. So taking action. And I think this is where, we need to take action to fight against this. So if you're keen on cyber, how do you take action? You've got to change your mindsets. You've got to see what's that universal shift? How do we prepare? How do we prevent attacks from getting into us as an individual as well as an organization? What is it that we need to do to continue our business from running? Because some of the things that, or majority of the time, what these attackers do is they try to cripple you, bring you down to your knees so that you can't use your technology. How do you prevent this from happening? Also that mindset of the individual. What is it that I need to look out for to prevent these attackers from getting further? The governance. How do we support? How do we ensure that we put in the correct structures as an organization, but even as a family? So if I think about it myself as a mother, there's certain rules that I put in place around with my children. So yes, I lock their devices. So I make use of specific controls or specific applications that prevent my children from going out. I protect my Wi-Fi at home as an example, but they're rules. So if for some reason something doesn't get past that app that I've installed on one of my kids' phones, they need to come back to me and say, Mommy, this happened, and the same applies in the organization. How do we make sure that we implement the governance so that people understand what it is that they should be doing, and more important, that they know what their recourse is when things don't go exactly as they plan? I can't tell you how many times I've walked into a cyber incident with my clients and there's a victim who's an individual who clicked on the link, or an individual who shared something with someone, and they're so afraid to tell us what they've done, you know, and we go through the logs and we're able to pick up what they've done exactly. And sometimes the attackers deleted the log, so we can't. But you get this thing where people are afraid to say, this is what's happened. And you know what? These attackers are very convincing. So there have been times where the most trained cyber individuals actually have clicked on the wrong link because it looks so realistic. So I think we need to understand that we're all human. We all can make mistakes. And we need to know what those rules are so that if something does go wrong, how do we come back as a team, or how do we come back to individuals, or come back to your support system to say, this has happened, I've clicked on this, I've done this, etc. My husband the other day got an email from a bogus SARS, and he opened the link. So I obviously I got the alert that he opened something malicious because I have stuff running on his phone. But before he that could get to that point for me to ask him what happened to the alert, he immediately told me, so that I could go in and make sure that his phone is safe again, and that we do the right things. So how do we? That governance is really key to ensuring that we have the rules and that we make sure that we don't spread this. And then the resilience. You know, there's a very common term. Mike Tyson said it at once at some point. Everybody thinks they're ready until they get punched in the face. So, you know, how do you stand up from this? How do you stand up when there's a cyber attack in the organization? If you're working in an organization, you're responsible for looking after that environment. And then how do you stand up again if you're an individual and you've been hit by a cyber attack? What is your rights? Make sure you know those, and always plan. Right, so you plan for outcomes. You don't plan for the causes. You plan for how do you get to a better place. You recover as much as you can. You recover your environment, but you recover stronger than where you started. That's always the initial. And then practice. If you think something is going to happen, practice it, rehearse it. So if you're in an organization and you think and you're responsible for cybersecurity, make sure that you practice those plans that you put in place. Don't let it sit on the shelf collecting dust, or be something that you review annually when things go wrong. So resilience is key to ensuring that you take action against the cyber attackers. It's a sophisticated business. It's not about if you get attacked. It's about when you get attacked. And all of us, I think, at some point or the other, can attest to when you receive something that seemed dodgy, be it an SMS from somebody, be it a phone call from somebody who's trying to sell you something that sounds a bit dodgy, or be it an email where somebody's trying to get you to click on something, or a website that you went to that's potentially malicious. These things happen. It's normal because it's a sophisticated cyber business that runs in the background that's trying to attack you. There it is. Everyone has a plan till they get punched in the mouth. That's a Mike Tyson word. And don't let it get to the point where you're punched in the mouth. Make sure that you're ready, and make sure that you have a support system in place so that when you are faced with a cyber attack, you know what you need to do. And that's my hopefully 15 minutes of my time, Lauren. Thank you for having me. I'm going to hand back.
Spot on. I've got so many comments here. Okay. Yeah, I think your comment, hacker as a service, probably raised a lot of eyebrows, because you don't actually think of the commerce behind crime. You know, crime is like baddies and balaclavas and cash and transit heists. You don't actually think of the sophistication around the crime that you kind of were speaking about, and the numbers, and their cut, their 40% cut of your of your request. So for me, that was wow. That was, hacker as a service. I'm going to, that was something really profound. From my side, I'm going to call on a couple of people that no doubt will have some questions. But just from my side, I think there's two things that stood out. Firstly, I really found the complexity of all the different parts that fit into this very, very insightful. I'm definitely going to go back to, I think it was slide 6 of yours with regards to that. But what was really interesting is just from my perspective, I'm immediately thinking about the, soft services around the psychology and counseling and support required to balance, the technical side and the investigation side, is that the victims of this and the unintended perpetrators of this, by clicking on that link or what have you, who's helping them and where does that step in, so there's just this vast amount there, and that support within the organization. I see my colleague Susie's on. Suze, pop your camera on, seeing as you foiled our education attempt. I did share with them that last year we ran an education attempt in our company where they tried to replicate my emails as HR, and I'm very fond of using highlighter to get people to click on a fake link. And unfortunately, Susie smelt a rat, like within 3 minutes of it being sent. So only a quarter of the company clicked on the link and kind of went down the wrong way, and Susie flagged everyone. But I think what was very, very interesting there is what was the support around when you do click that link. There is a shame attached. There is fear, because you don't want to be the one that brings down like a huge organization because you clicked on a link because it looks just like your HR manager's mail. So Suze, I mean, from your side, what were the flags when we tried that exercise? What came up for you as an employee going, whoa?
So the first thing when I read the mail was there was no highlighter. But the content of the mail gave me a little bit of pause, because it was about our HR system, which I knew you were trying to change, but we weren't there yet. And it was very quick, which I knew wouldn't be a mint approach. And it just, I can't even tell you what gave me pause, but the first thing I did was look at the email address that it came from and realized that it was spoofed as a mint.co.za or something that I knew wasn't your actual address. And that obviously alerted me to the fact this was a problem. So I got hold of IT and I said, please, can you warn everybody else? I'm pretty sure this is not meant to be here. And then they told me to stop being so pedantic.
Our education. No, but I mean, that's exactly it, is that I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have the exact stats, but more than 20 people in those 3 minutes from when it was sent out to when Susie commented, 20 people had already clicked and done the email. So, 20 people versus one person, that's the reality, basically. Bhavani, in your experience, what is the protection for employees? What happens to employees if they are the weakest link, so to speak?
So it's a difficult one, Lauren, because as organizations, majority of the time they give awareness training. So, there's many organizations, many corporates in South Africa give a huge amount of awareness training. And those things that Susie mentioned, looking out for, a fake email address, looking out for when you hover over the link, does it take you to some funny address or does it take you back to your organization's address? Those kind of things are what's included in that. So
Let me just mute somebody. There we go.
But from my experience, I haven't seen anybody being fired for clicking on the link, to be honest. I've worked on quite a few of these phishing incidents. A lot of them are very afraid to tell us unless we find the evidence and prove that, you did click on the link, and then they come up sheepishly and tell us, yes, we did. But there is support provided because, the HR teams get involved. We have to escalate it as a cyber incident response team to say who was the one who clicked on the link, and HR does get involved and they do speak to the teams. They do at times have to counsel them because it's very overwhelming. It's somebody's invaded your privacy. That's the way you need to look at it. They've invaded this individual's space. And there hasn't been a single organization I've worked in personally in South Africa that has turned around and pointed fingers at their staff. If anything, I've actually seen managers defend their staff to the nth degree to say, no, Susie is clever. She will never click on that link. I'm telling you, your logs are wrong. So I think we come from an organizations like that. In South Africa, I think we have a lot of heart leadership, which is fantastic. And I think in South Africa as well, we understand these things happen. I think many organizations, many executives have fallen prey to the phishing links as well. A lot of these attackers go for executives. They look at your executives and they send the phishing emails directly to them. So the nice, or I don't know if it's a nice thing, but executives have been in the shoes of the employee who has done this. So there is a general, and I don't know, Carissa, if you want to add on to that, but from my experience, there is a general acceptance around, you made a mistake. Let's see how we can improve this for you. And what we do generally after that is we put them on that specific individual, as well as the rest of the organization. We put them in a bigger awareness program to make sure this doesn't happen again. We also do things like, for example, if they clicked on a link that looked familiar. So it was the Office 365 Outlook window that had to put in your username and password. We've gone to the extent where we put a logo. We put the organization's logo on that box. So we let people know, if it doesn't show your company's logo above where you need to put your username and password in, then you know this is malicious. So there's things we can do as the cyber team to protect the people in the environment. But to answer your question, Lauren, no, the individuals that click on it do not become victims. We try as much as we can to support.
Carissa, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think from my perspective, it has a lot to do with how you behave after you've clicked on a link. I mean, if you've been duped and you take immediate action to report it, you take immediate action to change your password, you take the steps that you've been trained to do to protect the organization and protect yourself, instead of going and hiding it or, trying to play it down, that's actually the behavior that we need to train our organizations to do. I mean, we can never say, none of our employees are going to ever be tricked. I think that's sort of, it's something that we need to train and reinforce and, keep getting to that goal, but we'll never get 100% coverage. So for me, what comes after the click is really critical, and to encourage that behavior. So what I've done in the past is to actually measure how many people actually report that they've clicked, and how many people actually take corrective actions. And we reinforce that message. So we say, you've actually taken steps to protect yourself and to protect the organization. That's the behavior that we want to see.
Yes. I love that. Thank you. Bhavani, thank you so much. So insightful. Great start to our event today. So very, very cool. So thank you very, very much. And next up, we've got Christine. Hi, Christine. Thank you. So Christine is the Cyber Awareness Manager at Nedbank. Very exciting role. And I think an exciting journey as well to get to where you've got today. I know this is not the career that you started out as. So we look forward to hearing from you today. Thanks, Christine.
Okay, fantastic. Hi, and hi everybody, and just thank you very much for having me and for letting me share some stories. So I'm just going to share very quickly my screen. Just give me a second here. How can I have technical difficulties today of all times,
That's exactly how karma works. You should know.
It is. It's absolutely how it works. You're absolutely right.
Ladies, there's somebody on the call who's not muted and you've got a lot of background noise. Please mute yourselves.
I don't think they're even just hold on a second. There we go. Okay, so can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. So, okay, so as I said, thanks so much for having me. And Bhavani, I'm so glad you went just before me, because you did an absolutely fantastic job at giving everyone pretty much an overview of some of the threats, that I'm basically required to give staff awareness training on. So, and you know, there's obviously so much of them. So I've been at Nedbank for the last 14 years. I started off my journey at Nedbank basically in the information security department, so in IT. And at the time, I was actually a contractor. I was contracting for a security company. And we basically implemented security software and hardware. So I was absconded to Nedbank to help with some of the technical implementations, project implementations, and I went for 3 months, and I landed up staying for 2 years in information security. But you know, during my time in information security, I learned a lot about the various threats and the attacks and how they all happen and how they go down and basically you know, seeing firsthand what mistakes staff were actually making. And you know, it was basically there that I said to myself, you know what, I've got this passion to actually teach people, you know, about behavior, about their behavior, and you know, the behaviors that they can basically change, you know, to avoid being a target, you know, in a cyber attack, but not just at work, obviously specifically as well in their personal lives. So yeah, so in 2017, I decided to join the the Chief Information Security Office within our group risk function to do cyber awareness, because it had actually become back then, you know, basically a permanent role within the bank, because I think they were seeing that, you know, information security is more of an operational type role, and you know, them trying to also create the awareness and to, you know, to target staff with messages just wasn't it just wasn't getting done the way it needed to get done. So yes, so I'm very fortunate at Nedbank. You know, cyber risk is in the top 5 risks for the bank, and it is given top priority and focus. It's you know, it's a C-suite risk. So I've really had no issue in terms of having the, you know, the buy-in that I've needed. So yes, it has been a bit of a journey. It's been a bit of a journey to create my brand, or to create a cyber brand within the bank, and also just to get the right culture, you know, to basically try to instill the right culture. So, okay, so I've got a couple of slides. Look, and I'm sorry, they're not as fancy as Bhavani's. Bhavani's were absolutely beautiful. Mine are plain and simple and boring, and I'm just going to talk to a couple of points. So basically, what has worked in security awareness? So first things first, and something that I wasn't a good couple of years ago, is somebody who could stand up in front of on a stage and speak to a group of people in an auditorium. That absolutely scared the brown stuff out of me. So you know, and it took me some time to finally get into that stage where, you know, I could actually speak, I could do public speaking, and that course that's being offered, I would suggest that if anybody wanted to get into something like this, it would be a really, really good idea to, you know, to take that up. So what's helped me to be successful? Yes, as I mentioned earlier, stakeholder buy-in and support, having the right support from the top down has been incredibly important. You know, the CRO is very, very supportive of anything cyber. So you know, it does help when you have that backing. Budget, yes, I know there's so many organizations out there that just don't get given the budget to actually spend some money, you know, to make an impact. And budget, the budgets and how it goes in the form of, obviously, of tools, specific tools that you can use, services that you can, you know, that you can use from vendors. It's also in the terms of running events, running major events. You know, Cybersecurity Awareness Month in October is always a huge month for us. Unfortunately, in the last 2 years, we haven't done anything absolutely wow and fancy, But in the past, you know, we have pulled off some absolutely amazing events for staff, which has gone a very long way in getting us, you know, getting us the support that we need from staff as well. Hopefully that's back this year. So from a budgetary perspective, it's always nice to have some money to be able to spend on those. Also, when it comes to staff handouts, staff obviously love the freebies. Then you know, your collaboration with your various departments. We call them our business information security officers in each of the various clusters. You know, and basically having them on your side and having them also driving you know, the messages that you send out. Oh, collaboration with information security operations. Fortunately, I'm very lucky in this instance where I came from IT, so I came from the operations side. So I still have fantastic relations with them. So I always get a bit of an inside scoop, find out exactly what's going on, so that I know how to direct my my awareness messages to staff. Group communications, and once again, this is also a gripe that I've heard from a lot of people, is that they just don't get that you know, that they're working together with group communication. So, and you know, fortunately from that side as well, we've got a great communications community within the bank, and everybody sort of helps everybody out. So so very fortunate there. Phishing and training tools. Absolutely, definitely something that helps. You know, we run phishing campaigns using our Know Before platform. Training, we roll out, you know, various besides the stock standard mandatory e-learning trainings that we have to have for staff, for them to access. We've also got access to rolling out specific videos for them to watch. You know, videos with little quizzes. It always helps, and they're fun. It's the fun stuff. The fun stuff is the stuff that they really want. Then partner services to complement your team. And I know that my ladies, well, I can't say my ladies, sorry. The ladies that I use are on the line. Campaign management services is always fantastic to work. And once again, as you heard there, I said ladies. And I think what we've seen is it goes a very long way with being a female, and getting people to listen to you and getting people to listen to your stories. And I think we also are a lot more sympathetic. You know, we actually like to we like to listen to those stories, and we also like to give our sides as well. Social engineering exercises we use. We've also got partners for that we use for some of our bigger social engineering exercises to test staff. We work very well with them. So you know, that always helps. And then the last two, passion for people, which I just absolutely have had. I mean, I think the last 2 years for me has been particularly hard, because in the first year, I think I almost lost my mind, because I had gotten so used to seeing people and giving presentations in person, that all of a sudden now I had to talk to a screen. And I think that was particularly hard for me in the beginning. But obviously slowly but surely it's come right. And then obviously just the passion for security awareness. You know, it becomes part of your everyday life. I mean, and it's exactly how we position our presentations to staff. We say you basically use technology for every part of your daily life. And if you look at the things that you use it for, it's, you know, there's a long list. And why it's so important to constantly be alert, be aware of the various threats. So yes, so then it comes down to, what do staff really want? What do they want? They don't want the boring stuff, unfortunately. They don't want to hear about, you know, they don't want to do that long course, you know, with a bunch of facts. So, you know, we have to mix it up. We have to make it exciting for them. Each year we bring in speakers. We bring in international speakers. We bring in local speakers to present to staff. Twice now since 2017, we've had an international hacker, once in person, once online. But it absolutely draws the crowds. And you know, listening to listening to it actually from a hacker's perspective, and to say, this is how we are going to hack you. This is exactly what we're going to do. These are the behaviors that we are looking for. And we absolutely scare the staff, we scare them, but at the same time, we are educating them with the fear that we're creating in them. Social media experts, and basically cyber awareness experts in the field, what they're seeing at other organizations. So yes, we try to make the content easy to follow. There's no death by PowerPoint. There's no reading tons of information. It's pictures. We talk to pictures. We talk to graphs. We play them videos. We find humorous. I know like humorous memes. We find those humorous memes. That get the conversation going. We show them videos. We share stories. We get content from reputable sources. And I mean, there are so many that I use, and I'm absolutely happy to share any of those if anybody wants them. We obviously quote them in the presentations, but it's so important to be able to articulate, what these threats are about, what they're doing, the havoc that they're causing, and, what the consequences have actually been. So we encourage them to share their personal stories. We share our own personal stories as well with them. I think it's always fun. I mean, it's exactly like Lauren said earlier. She shares a story, and it gets everybody thinking about, particularly an incident that may have happened to them. And we actually, we encourage them to share their stories so that they can actually, teach other staff. So we keep our sessions interactive. We make use of polls. We try to just get them interested, So road shows. I mean, the road shows are always the fun part. I mean, we've done some really great things in the past couple of years in terms of mazes. Keep me honest here. We've done mazes, we've done games, we've done we've done quite a few fun different initiatives for staff to participate in. And we travel around the country. We go around. We've in the past, and hopefully, well, this year it's happening again, where we're actually taking the roadshows once again to the various campus sites. Handouts and prizes, that goes without saying. Everybody loves free stuff. Even if it's a pen, if it's a piece of, if it's a little booklet, sweets go absolutely so far, you have no idea. Everybody loves sweets. And then obviously, the dangling the prizes at getting people to actually do stuff. Recognition and praise. When they've done something right, I make a point of actually recognizing those people and saying to them, you know what, well done, you've acted in the right way. And yes, and at the end of the day, making it fun. So I'm just checking my time. If somebody can just tell me how much time I've got left, because I don't have a counter here.
Don't worry, you've got everybody enthralled and at the edge of their seats, Christine. So you keep tracking, don't you worry.
Okay, so all I've basically done is so what I'm going to give you I'll give you a couple of examples just so you can see how these work. I mean, and this is what we show staff as well. We actually show them. I mean, how do we test them? We test them with phishing simulations. We look at what's currently trending. We look at with the current events that are happening in the industry, or just basically in South Africa, and I'll show you one of those in a few minutes. The phishing simulations, look, there's no way I could do it because I cannot phone and lie to staff. I think they'll catch me out in the first couple of seconds. But we do work with our ethical hacking company to actually do those simulations on our behalf. And they're fantastic. They're so good at it. And they get, sometimes, very unfortunately, they get staff to sing like canaries. But yes, at the end of the day, it's the education at the end of the the exercise. Smishing, the SMS campaigns, yes, we run those often. And then physical security assessments. We're about to embark on one of those again this year, because slowly but surely we're getting more and more people back into the offices. But just physical security, seeing if they can impersonate people, seeing if they can get through our physical security controls, and then basically just seeing what they can do. And when we share these stories, so once we've actually conducted these exercises and we share it with staff, it opens their eyes in a big way to say, oh my goodness, yes, okay, so that's how easy it is for somebody to get in and for somebody to actually get what they want. So like Bhavani said, just now, we also don't victimize our users when they get caught. You know, we're obviously of the opinion that we offer them training. We offer them training. We offer them one-on-one sessions if they need it. But we also give them, you know, the physical training messages of what they should have noticed, what should they have seen as, you know, as people. Okay, so just taking you very quickly into some of the campaigns that we run. I mean, and obviously, as we all know, you know, why hack technology when it's just that much easier to hack the human? So, you know, and from a social engineering perspective, people are, you know, these guys are masters of manipulation. You know, they pretend to be someone, you know, that staff can trust, into getting them to divulge personal information, you know, participating in scams, downloading software, malicious software via their links, you know. So, and look, our information security department really does have all the world-class systems and controls, but what we constantly tell staff is, you know what, they have all these controls in place, but at the end of the day, we are still the weakest link. We are the last line of defense, and you know, we are the ones that need to make sure that that we don't compromise the bank. So just some of the examples, you know, and like I said, so we look at brands. We also try to you know, look at the various brands. Obviously, the Facebooks, the LinkedIn's, and all the rest. These are just some of them, and then you've got your Facebooks. Microsoft is very big. You know, so we run campaigns on those too. We run internal campaigns, making it look like it comes from an internal address, but there's many characteristics. So what we basically do is we send out these you know, these phishing campaigns, and then at the end of these phishing campaigns, we actually show them what it is that they've done wrong and why they should have noticed specific things in the emails. So this was just a LinkedIn example, asking them to verify via a link, but, you know, obviously it was a dodgy link and it wasn't taking them anywhere LinkedIn, you know, LinkedIn related. This was one that we've just recently done in February, and oh my goodness, I know, I think maybe it's just been, you know, it was the first phishing campaign of the year, and it was, I actually thought it was so easy, and I thought, oh my goodness, we're not going to catch people. It's far too obvious. And I think people were just, and it was launched on Valentine's Day, and oh my goodness, people were clicking away. They, you know, someone is thinking about you. The flattery in that was, and we got many staff members clicking away, having a laugh. Some of them afterwards, some not so much, but yes, and then once again educating them afterwards. This was the other one, and this is now the second Tinder campaign that we have run within the bank. First one was a couple of years ago. I wasn't actually allowed to walk floors after the first one, but like I say, this is another one that we used. We used Tinder. We used a you know, and people were panicking because they saw this and they were like, oh my goodness, but I don't have one. So let me rather just very quickly click and try and unsubscribe. But with doing that, you know, obviously they're not, you know, they weren't actually checking on anything because they were panicking so much. SMS simulations. I mean, these are just some. Another one recently that we just did is the clamping down on outstanding accounts. You know, your electricity account is in arrears and will be cut in 7 days. So, you know, once again, there's a couple of things here that they should have noticed, but because it doesn't actually even mention like where it's coming from. Is it COJ? Is it in Cape Town? So we had to obviously keep it just very generic. So yes, so you know, so basically, like I'm saying, so there's various ways to test staff, but the most important part of it is once you've tested them, is to go back to say, guys, this is what you should have looked out for. This is what you should have seen. And slowly but surely, you know, the click rate gets, obviously I get measured on the click rate. So the lower the click rate, and I pretty much know I'm doing an okay job. So yeah, so these are just some of the various tools that we use to test staff. And once again, then we use our training platform, our Know Before training platform, to send them training that they can go through at their leisure. But at the end of the day, they're actually getting what they need. So yes, without further ado, that was the end of my slideshow. I do hope that I used my time wisely and I didn't go over.
It doesn't matter. I think everybody's head is spinning and there's just so much. I am conscious of time in total, Christine, so I am going to ask people to pop questions for you in the chat, but I do want to make 2 comments. I think the theme that I picked out from your talk is actually creating that culture of cyber knowledge and cyber awareness. And it's not just once-off events, it's a culture. It's how you live and breathe. It's part of induction. It's part of onboarding. It's part of re-education. It's regular and consistent. And it starts with that C-suite buy-in. And I think that was really impressive. And I think for me, that just stood out. I think something that might have piqued a few people's interest, and I would love to see the questions they have for you in the comments, but getting hackers as guest speakers and actually hearing from these people how and why and what they do. I think that's really very insightful. So yeah. But Christine, thank you. Really, really great. I'm sure this is going to become one of our most popular WIT events ever, and the recording will be watched hundreds of times. For everyone on the call, as I said, we are trying to just stick into our time until 6 p.m. So if you do have questions for Christine, please pop them in the chat. And when we get to the end of this today, we'll try and address some of those, please. Christine, thank you very, very much. Really, really awesome. I'm going to ask Lauren to pop on her camera, please. And Lauren is joining us. She's an account executive at CyberArk. And I'm now going to start spotlighting you. So give me 1 second. Spotlight for everyone indeed. There we go. Hi, Lauren. And this afternoon, Lauren's going to talk about her role and her journey, and also just give us a little bit more insight into WICYS, what it is, who it is, what it's about, and the purpose of it. So, Lauren, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks, Lauren. Thanks for inviting me today, and hello to everybody on the call this afternoon. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to just jump straight in. So I'm Lauren Hollingworth. I am an account executive with CyberArk here in South Africa. I've been with the company for just over a year, and I've been in cybersecurity now for, over 10 years. And I'm going to share a little bit about my journey, but I'm going to talk a little bit first about Women in Cybersecurity Southern African Affiliate. So our journey started last year in January when a couple of ladies got together and started WICYS, that's how we pronounce it, Women in Cybersecurity, and we became a Southern affiliate. To give you guys a bit of a history, WICYS started in the US in 2012, and the whole aim and the mission of WICYS was to encourage women in cybersecurity to join the community, ladies that have been in cybersecurity or still in cybersecurity, to pretty much mentor and help more young women come into the industry. So currently we have over 5,000 members worldwide. We're in 70 countries with over 38 affiliates. So I run the brand and marketing for WICYS Southern Africa. And our mission here in South Africa is to basically encourage more women in South Africa to join the cybersecurity world. And how do we do that? So we're talking about internships. We reach out to our connections and our network in the industry to assist young people get internships at some of the bigger customers from a cybersecurity perspective. We encourage cybersecurity leaders like the likes of Michelle. I see we've got a couple of ladies on the call today to also mentor their teams, to encourage employing more female cybersecurity staff in their organizations, and also to mentor the youngsters coming into our world. I think some of us on the call have probably been in the industry for many, many years. I'm showing my age now, and some of us are just starting our journey. So WICYS is there to help you guys to pretty much say, right, how do we encourage the youngsters of today in South Africa to become part of the cybersecurity world? And as you've heard from Bhavani and from Michelle, I think it was Michelle beforehand, these are ladies that are in the trenches, so to speak. So I'm coming in from a sales perspective. So I sell cybersecurity solutions. And we were talking earlier about also how people started in one specific career and completely ended up in something else. So from a cybersecurity perspective, you know, you don't have to have been in the industry for 5, 6, 7 years to actually become a salesperson or become an engineer. I've known some amazing female engineers who started from the ground up and who basically worked their way through their organizations by doing courses, organizations sending them on courses, and eventually ending up being a CIO of a business. So I'm coming in from a sales perspective, and I'll tell you a little bit about my journey. I started off as a musician. I was a professional opera singer for 15 years. And through various personal reasons, I ended up working in the corporate world, and I was just lucky enough to be given a chance by somebody. And so many of us out there have, you know, we've gone to varsity, we've studied our courses, and we also end up doing completely something different that, you know, that we originally started off on. And what I wanted to tell you ladies today, and some of the guys on the call, is that great mentors enable transition in any career. I was lucky enough to have worked under some amazing people that helped me during my career to say, Lauren, we don't care that you've got, you don't know what a firewall is, and you don't know, you know, what a policy is. We will show you, we will teach you, and we will guide you. And those mentors were absolutely crucial to my growth of where I am right now in my career. I love being in sales. I've always been in sales. I used to sell pianos as a living when I stopped singing professionally, and I kind of fell into cybersecurity purely by chance. And boy, after I've been in that industry for a couple of years, I haven't looked back. Being in cyber sales is challenging, it's relevant, and it's continuously evolving. You also become a trusted partner to your customers out there, irrespective of what cybersecurity solution that you're selling. Coming back to WICYS, that is our goal, is to take youngsters, middle-aged, irrespective of where you are in your career right now, and assist you and help you walk that path. Assist you to say, where do I start? How do I become a salesperson in cybersecurity? What knowledge do I need? What courses do I need to have? There is a wealth of information on YouTube, LinkedIn, that won't cost you a cent, where you can actually just educate yourself at your own time, self-paced training. And I encourage everyone on the call today, if you haven't joined WICYS, join our community. We're only 1 year old, just over 1 year old, and we've got big plans this year. We want to be able to offer mentorship programs. We want to be able to do live events. We're inviting people in to come and chat and show you how we did it in our business. But in order to do that, we need to grow. And just a quick punt, we have been given the most amazing opportunity from a licensing perspective, where your annual subscriptions cost you $25. That's all it's going to cost you. And you've got access to a wealth of information and access to some amazing ladies in the industry. I want to leave you with a quote today that I find very relevant, specifically in my life today. As I look back on my life, I realize that every time I thought I was being rejected from something good, I was actually being redirected to something better. I want to leave you with that. I know we haven't got a lot of time, and I know Carissa has a lot of information to share with you. She is our president of WICYS, And I'd like to hand over back to Lauren and to say thank you for allowing me to come and talk to you today. And you are welcome to LinkedIn with me anytime and connect with me. Thanks, everyone.
Lauren, thank you. And I don't know why my mind every now and then. So amazing to hear your journey, because I do believe there is massive opportunity and potential in technology for everybody, and you can find your niche, you can find your passion and work in that. And I love your story, and everybody I know wants me to ask this question, but where can we hear you sing? Everybody is asking it, so share a link or share a few notes, but where can we hear and see you?
Probably in the shower these days, Lauren. But yeah, I just want to say thank you very much. And I mean, you know, I'm not in the trenches per se, like the likes of Bhavani and some of the ladies on the calls today. So, you know, but we assist our customers to pretty much be more secure from a vendor perspective. And that's an exciting journey for me, being kind of on the other side of things. To help our customers realize, you know, their journey in their cybersecurity programs. And it's a really, really cool industry to be in. You make tons of money. It's hard work. Trust me, it's very hard work. But it is really a fantastic industry to be in, because right now, globally, we have such a big need, not just for cybersecurity engineers or coders, but also for salespeople. So join us and be awesome.
Yeah, I love that. And honestly, to everybody on the call, I think don't underestimate the power of your passion and how that is influencing the people around you. Your impact is tremendous. Your energy, Lauren, is amazing, as is Bhavani and Christine's before you. Just hearing that passion and knowing that you're actually doing something for the greater good. This is more than just you. It's more than just the paycheck. This is like big picture stuff. So thank you very much. And as you said, we are now going to move on to our fourth speaker, who is Carissa. Carissa, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Absolutely no pressure, but Michelle has set the bar of expectations very high, because she has shared with me just the experience of listening to your stories before, listening to your keynotes and that. You're a highly regarded speaker, and we really appreciate you being here today and sharing your journey with us to get to the managing executive of cybersecurity at Vodacom. I mean, that's a mouthful, but it says it all. So welcome today, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Lauren. I hope those accolades help me today to try and keep you entertained for a little while. So let me start with my journey. I'm going to spend probably a minute on my story, and then I'll go into some of the most frequent questions I get about my job. So I have had the fortune and the privilege of leading two multinational organizations from a cybersecurity perspective across Africa. And I was actually calculating last night how many African countries I've actually led cyber teams in, and I came up to the number of 24, which is approximately half of the countries in Africa. So, you know, just thinking back on where I started, I think it's quite humbling to think that, you know, people have entrusted me to do such big roles. So if I think back to where I started, I actually got into med school when I was studying after university. I very quickly realized that I didn't like touching people that I didn't know. So being a doctor would probably be, you know, I'd probably be one of the worst doctors out there if I didn't like touching people. So I changed tacks. I got a bursary to study software engineering in Malaysia for 4 years. I went over to Malaysia, 18 years old, didn't know anything about the world. The first time on a plane was, you know, flying 10 hours to Malaysia, foreign culture, foreign food, foreign language. And I was studying technology. I did a specialist degree in software engineering, came back to South Africa, once again convinced, you know, if I'm medicine, I was going to be a developer, a software engineer. Came back and someone saw something in me that they believed I would be a good cyber person. And that's where my journey really started in cyber. And I've done almost every role that is to do in cybersecurity, everything from deeply technical roles to governance, risk, awareness, absolutely everything. And this is my second group CISO stint that I'm doing now at Vodacom. The two questions that I get asked most often is, what is my job? Often by my mother, because I think even after all these years, she still doesn't know what I do. And we still have conversations about safe passwords, even though, you know, her daughter's been doing this career for so many years. And the easiest way for me to explain what I do is that I build trust. Whenever you work with any organization, whenever you trust any brand, whenever you give your information, your money, your data, anything to an organization, you're really trusting in that organization to safeguard your information. And so my job on a daily basis is to build trust. And I guess that's kind of the easiest way to sort of explain what I do. And the second question I get asked most often is, how do you do it? Because it sounds quite challenging. And you know, Bhavani spoke really well about the threats that we're all facing, and most large multinationals have, you know, attacks levied against them all the time. So it's a high pressurized, you know, system and environment that you're working in. So really, how do you actually cope in such a space? And I truly believe, Lauren spoke about, you know, how brilliant it is to be in cybersecurity. And it is really a very noble cause to champion. It's something that personally, I get a lot of satisfaction from knowing that I'm protecting people, that I'm protecting livelihoods, that I'm protecting, you know, businesses, economies. And that's hugely valuable. It's something that motivates me all the time, that when I'm having a really you know, tough situation that I'm getting through, I always think back to my purpose and my goal and what I want to achieve, and that inspires me to do more and to give more. Lauren also spoke about the startup of WICYS, and I'm a big champion of females in cybersecurity. Globally, there is about 20% of the cyber workforce that is female, and because we have attackers that are so diverse, you know, having a diverse workforce is really important to being able to tackle diverse adversities. The more perspectives we get in the room, the more voices and opinions we get in, the better armed we are to actually protect ourselves from attackers. I'm also a mum. I have 2 children, one of whom is a teenager. And so I'm dealing with all the typical teenager challenges with regards to being safe online and really protecting my family from cyber threats as well. So it's full circle for me. You know, I'm a cyber person at work, but I also believe I'm doing cyber at home right now. And Bhavani also spoke about, you know, how she engages with her children around teaching them what is right and wrong. And I'll just make one point here. I think that, you know, we've got it entrenched in us that when we teach a child to cross the road, we tell them to look in both directions. We tell them to hold an adult's hand. We tell them to respect the rules of crossing a road. And for me, cyber is very much the same. It's something that if you have the good practices and if you have the good basic foundation and rules in place, whether it is at home or at your work, it's not something that should be scary. It's not something that should be challenging. A majority of the attackers out there are exploiting things that are still basic things that, you know, we can all use a normal protection, really basic protection to protect ourselves from. And I think, you know, just on that note, Lauren started with the Tinder swindler right in the beginning of this talk. And I thought what I would give you is just a couple of tips and tricks on how we can actually be safe, cyber safe ourselves. And personally, what I do, because I think we're all faced with so many people trying to dupe us, how do I actually protect myself? So the first tip that I'd give you guys is out of band channels. And this one's a big word, but it's actually really easy. So whenever you have someone contacting you, use a channel that's outside of the channel that the person is contacting you. So for example, if you get an email, don't respond via email, rather contact via phone. Or if you receive a phone call, rather say, I'm not going to respond right now. I will call the call center, which is the number that I usually operate with, instead of reacting immediately. So use an out-of-band channel to actually validate what you're saying and what the person is saying. If we take the Tinder swindler example for as a good scenario, all of those ladies that trusted so wholeheartedly that he was who he said he is would have actually validated using the phone number of the actual company that he was claiming to be from and contacted them to say, is this person actually employed? Is this person actually the multimillionaire that he claims to be? And just that simple phone call and out of band of what the person is urging you to do is such an easy mechanism that we can use to actually validate that something is real. I was on a talk with Riyad Musa a few years ago, and he was actually saying that his Facebook account is constantly, and it's a public talk, so I'll share this, but I mean, he was saying his Facebook account, he constantly gets people that are contacting him to do events. How does he actually know that this is real? And I gave him this exact same advice. I said, so if a company contacts you, maybe don't respond directly on Facebook. Maybe go via the channel and the official email address that's on their website. Use a different channel to contact them that you've initiated the connection, not that the person has initiated the connection on. And so that's the first tip that I'd leave you guys with. The second one is, and it's really simple. It's a mantra that all security practitioners try to instill in people, is to stop and think. Earlier when we had the lady on that was telling us about the email that she thought was unusual, she said there's almost like a spider sense. You know, there isn't something exactly that you can put your hand on that's telling you this is not a legitimate claim. Yes, there's urgency. Yes, there's, you know, the pattern of the language and all of that. But there's almost something that is telling you in the back of your head, just stop. So really, we're living in such a fast-paced world. We do everything so quickly on our phone, in between doing other stuff. Just if we could take a breath and stop and think about what we're doing before we just react, we give ourselves the ability to just consider, is there something else going on here? And should I be able to react differently? And then the third tip I'd share with you guys is to really share your stories, good and bad. And I really love this approach because, and I said this earlier, that, you know, if you are being duped, or if someone is getting you to behave in a way that you shouldn't behave, try and save the next person from that. So if, for example, you've had, won a lottery that you actually haven't won and you've lost money, tell people that this is actually how you've been duped and this is what impact it had on you, so that you can share the message, share the awareness, etc. And then if you've actually had someone contact you and you've managed to do some of the techniques I'm telling you about, which is, you know, use a different channel, etc., also share that message. I think just by informing our family, our friends, our organization, and just talking about it a lot more, we're improving our resilience, which is also something Bhavani spoke about improving your resilience to cyber attacks. And the last point I wanted to touch on is, how do you actually get into cybersecurity? I mean, there's lots of courses out there. There's lots of material out there. There's lots of fancy acronyms, and I think the list of acronyms are just growing day by day. But it's, you know, and there's such a demand for cyber people today. We actually have 3.5 million unfilled cyber roles globally, and that number is constantly growing. So, you know, definitely an in-demand field. So how do you actually break into this field? How do you actually get into it? And the first piece of advice I would give you is, I think cyber is so diverse. There's so many different aspects to cybersecurity. Really try and understand what interests you. And you can do this without any cost, like Lauren said, with, you know, going onto YouTube, going and looking at videos. There's a really great story about, you know, a really successful ethical hacker. And all she started off with was curiosity and YouTube videos. And she started training herself, and that inquisitive nature and that learning through others' experiences and through YouTube videos actually started to experiment with ethical hacking. And she's quite successful today. Obviously, certifications and courses came after, but really understanding what was interesting her and where the niche was and what she wanted to do actually started for free. And that opportunity is out there. Just you know, have a look at it. The second one is to really hone in on mentorship. And that's one of the reasons that I founded WICYS Southern Africa last year, is because I felt like we needed to share more stories of women who were successfully doing cybersecurity, that had cybersecurity careers, and women that were getting into cybersecurity, to make it more possible and more tangible and more achievable for ladies sitting out there that were thinking that they couldn't do it, that it's a too technical field, that it's something that's too difficult for them to do. And I often share the story. I was at an ISACA event, actually, a She Leads Tech ISACA event a few years ago. And there was a whole group of girls that were there from Kailicha. And we were talking about what, you know, being in cybersecurity is, and what having a tech career is like. And I happened to sit next to one of these girls at lunch, and she was so excited. She was like, "Oh, I definitely want to be in cybersecurity. I'm so thrilled about this." We were having this great conversation, and all of a sudden her face drops. And I go, so you know, what's going on? Why the long face? She says, well, my school tells me I'm getting good grades. My teachers tell me, go ahead, you can do this. And, you know, I'm so encouraged by all of that. But when I go home, my neighbors and my family tell me I'm a girl and I'm only meant for one thing, and that's not technology. And my heart just sank. And you know, a lot of experiences like that is what has led to us launching WICYS in Southern Africa, because I think Africa has unique challenges, cultural challenges, stigmas, norms, and we need to actually tackle that in a very consolidated way, you know, using the networks that we have and opening doors for other women and other young girls to make a difference and to actually get into technology careers. So really find good mentorship, you know, join WICYS if you can, if you're interested in cybersecurity. Come and partner with us, and come learn how to break into this field. And then the last one that I'd sort of add as to how to break into cyber is cyber's changing so rapidly. If I think about when I started my career to now, it's fundamentally changed. I mean, when I started, cloud services wasn't as big a drive as it is today. So constantly think about what's new, where's your niche, where can you actually upskill, where there is a very scarce demand for skills, and that'll help you really quickly get in and get noticed and get land that role if you're really interested in it. Yeah, Lauren, I think that's about all I'll share now. I don't know if there's any questions, but happy to take them.
Carissa, amazing. So again, I've made my notes. Everyone knows me. I'm very old school. My trusty notebook goes everywhere with me, and all my notes are there. I did live in Korea for a long time, so when I need to write something secure, I use Korean. So hopefully, this is old school hacking. You know, people can't read my handwriting. Carissa, 3 comments from me, and then we're going to open up for a few chats before Natasha wraps us up. You started off speaking about the diversity aspect, and I think that for me just kind of really stopped me in my tracks, because I think we underestimate what the impact of diversity is, because I am one person in one demographic with one background, one experience, coming from one journey, and so therefore this is what I'm seeing. And so the decision making and the understanding of circumstances is coming from this, and that's a huge barrier to success in terms of understanding the impact of cybersecurity, because language is a barrier. You know, if understanding, just sharing stories, you know, and that cultural thing around there. So I mean, that's a topic that we can really go into, but I just thought from your story in terms of the diversity and where you're coming, on a personal side, how does your family and your community embrace your journey, your role where you are, you know, in terms of socio-cultural expectations?
Yeah, so it's a really good question, Lauren. I'm typically, I'm very often the only woman CISO in a room. I'm typically also very often the only brown person in the room, and I'm definitely the only woman with a scarf in a room. So I've got it from all angles, I think.
Yes.
You know, but for me, I've never looked at it as an obstacle. I've always looked at it as an opportunity, and I think that exactly what I said about positioning how diversity makes us stronger, because there's a lot of research into companies that are more diverse actually make better decisions, exactly because of what you're talking about. Because we'll never understand our customer base as well as we could unless we have a diverse workforce. We'll never understand the mindset of attackers unless we've got a diverse workforce. And so for me, I've never felt held back. I've never felt, there's been moments where I've had to address an elephant in the room. And I'll maybe share an example of that. I mean, there was a time when I traveled into Africa for the first time, and I was sitting in a room. I was addressing the CEO, and a male colleague had traveled with me. And every time I asked a question, the CEO would respond to the male colleague, not to me. And it got a bit disconcerting. It was making me feel uncomfortable. And so at lunch, I made a point of sitting next to him. And I said to him, do you know, every time I asked you a question, you were actually responding to my male colleague, not to me. And he said to me, oh my goodness, Carissa, I actually didn't realize I was doing this. And after a while we were talking, he said, you know what it is? Culturally, I don't speak directly to a woman that is not part of my family.
Yes.
And I think that has filtered into the way I behave at work. So I didn't intend it as disrespect, but I understand how it could be perceived as disrespect. And so he was doing it because of his culture, because of the way he grew up. And I was perceiving it as, oh my goodness, this man is disrespecting me because he's not even responding to me. He's responding to the male counterpart that I travel with. So for me, calling an elephant, like just stating what is happening, what you are seeing and what you are feeling is so powerful, because there's two sides to every story. And just understanding that flip side is just so important. And I always go into conversations that way to try and understand what the dynamic is in the room and then try and address that dynamic.
And perhaps having faith that there's no maliciousness intended.
Exactly.
It was a genuine behavioral error, and we are all, another one of my comments here is around socioeconomic norms, what a girl's supposed to do versus what a boy's supposed to do. And I realize I have a 4-year-old son, and he's come out with, what boys can do and what girls can do. And I was like, they had a dance day at school, and the girls did ballet and the boys did hip hop. And I asked him why, and he said, oh no, boys can't do ballet and girls can't do hip hop. So I immediately introduced him to Missy Elliott and was like, well, let's just fix that. But it starts from so young, and I don't think our teachers realize that they reinforce these socio-economic and socio-gender norms and cultural norms and that. So absolutely love your approach of address it. It's not going to change if we don't address it. And just the last thing, which I really loved, and this really goes out to all the women on the call today that are perhaps starting out in career journeys, or they might even still be in school and they're thinking about career options. Cyber and technology is changing so rapidly, and I love that, because the potential is just endless. There is so much opportunity, and just going back to what Lauren mentioned, bringing your passion into this. So if you're interested in the forensic side, if you're interested in the protection side, the cultural side, the engagement, there's so many aspects to it, and I think that was really profound. And it comes down to sharing our stories.
Yeah, I did.
Carissa, amazing. Thank you very much. I will open up for questions after everyone else is finished, but thank you very much. Really insightful. I think you've piqued a lot of people's interest, and certainly the people on the call who are, not white males and are not in those positions certainly can find an identifier with you in terms of making that difference. So thank you very much. And last but not least, I'm going to ask Natasha to come up. Not come up, you know what I mean, Natasha. Virtually come up. Okay, let me stop spotlighting Carissa, and I'm going to start spotlighting you.
Thanks, Lauren.
Okay, so I'm sure everybody knows Natasha because she's one of our longest WIT Network members and participants, and she's presented quite a few times and hosted us in the BC days. But just, to wrap up today's event, Natasha, I think the 4 speakers before you have really kind of set the tone and piqued everybody's interest and raised that awareness. But now we've got to do something with that, and that's where you come in, and I'm really excited about what we're going to do. So
Okay, great.
over to you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Lauren. So for those who don't know me, my name is Natasha Prusen, and I'm from Legit Smart Solutions. A little bit about me. My love for computers began in 1992 at Nedbank when I saw programmers telling computers what to do. And I was fascinated by the human and that PC connection. And fast track, I then became a COBOL programmer for Nedbank for a couple of years. And today I'm fortunate enough to run the oldest independent women-owned learning partner in South Africa. The business started in 2000, and today we are officially an adult. We're also a team with 85% of us being women. Legit Smart Solutions' purpose is to uplift businesses, people, and communities to shine, and we do that through our education solutions. So I'm really excited about the collaboration today between WIT WICYS and Legit Smart Solutions. Ladies, I'm not sharing a presentation today. I wanted to see some faces. So please, could you put your cameras on? Because I'd like to ask one question. So my question is, raise your hand if you knew South Africa is the victim of the world's third highest number of cybercrimes. Okay, great. Thank you, ladies. So like some of you, I also didn't know that. So Legit Smart Solutions, we offer various security courses, but today our training incentive is focused on driving the cyber security awareness training, as well as raising funds to educate women and girls in cybersecurity. So I'd like to present an offering we put together to drive the WIT, the WICYS, and the Legit partnership. It's a cybersecurity awareness course. Our course is self-paced, and it's for everyone, women and men. It's been developed by us. It's easy to follow. It covers a lot of topics that we've spoken about today, like the device security, the data security, the phishing, the scams, some stories of cybercrime cases. It'll take approximately 2 to 3 hours to complete. You can attend at your own pace. There's also a knowledge check or assessment at the end. And if you pass, you'll receive a certificate from us. The cost is 1,150 Rand per person. And ladies, this amount, if you're working for an organization, can also go towards your BE skill spend. So the incentive for this event, for every one person you send, we'll send one girl code girl or one girl from the community through our cyber awareness training. So if you like,
I'm sorry, Natasha, but I'm not sure if Zandile is still on the call, but Tapiwe, I know you're on the call. Can you pop your camera on?
Oh, great. I didn't know they were here.
I saw Zandile dropped off, but Tapiwe was still on. I'm not sure if she's still here, but yeah.
I'm waving. Hi. That's
okay,
so wonderful. Thank you so much.
Let me do
I don't know
that.
if you can see me. I'm somewhere there.
There we go. I can see you. Thank you, Tapiwa. So,
awesome.
Yeah, so
Thank you
Natasha
so
will
much.
take us through it, but just to elaborate on this initiative, the reason why we want to do this and why we are so grateful to Natasha and Legit for partnering with this intention is it's that whole like starfish principle. We've got to make a difference for one person, and educating one young woman, whether it's through Girl Code or somebody in your community on this and putting them through Natasha's program is going to make that difference. It's going to make that change. So Natasha, this is just a tremendous gift from Legit. And I'm really like overwhelmed with gratitude because I'm so excited to sign up and do it, and all the Mint ladies, that's going to be us. But just to know that these young girls and the women in our communities who are not in an advantaged position to pay for a course like this, but desperately need it, will be getting this. So thank you, Natasha. Really, really great. Yeah, I'm excited to hear more about it, but just a very big thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, so if you'd like to protect yourself, if you'd like to learn more and support this incentive, please would you sign up on our sign up form. I'll post that link in the chat window just now. It'll take you less than a minute to complete the sign up form. Let us know how many people you'd like to upskill, and then our customer team will connect with you. And then we'll take care of your booking and then take care of the bookings for those women from the community. So thank you, ladies. Let's protect ourselves. Let's protect our families, our businesses, our environments, and each other from cyber attackers. And again, thank you, Lauren, and big thanks to all the women speakers today for sharing their stories.
That's really awesome. Thank you very much, Natasha. Really, I'm so excited, and I'm so excited as soon as I say goodbye to everyone to go and sign up. But yeah, ladies, so we've got some time left, and I just want to open the floor. I appreciate all of our speakers sticking around and waiting for this moment. And I just want to invite all of you. I've kind of facilitated questions up until now, and now I'm going to put myself on mute. And you ladies on the call, please, you've got our speakers here. Pop your hand up and let's get some of the questions going from you. What is important and for you. Nikki, your hand is up first. Well done, and off you go.
I just have a question around maybe the wording that we frame it with. When we talk about people clicking on a link and being responsible and owning up to it, Lauren's example of internally where they sent that link out, I seriously considered clicking on that link. I just was too busy to get to it. And I think, you know, part of the wording that we need to use when we talk to organizations and employees is say that you're not owning up to the fact that you made a mistake. You were scammed. You know, you're not owning the mistake. It wasn't a mistake. You know, we need to be very careful about how we word that so that people don't feel threatened. To your point that you've got HR involved, Bhavani, and I think it's just very important that we continuously reinforce to people that if you think there's something wrong, this is the approach, but you're not at fault. You were scammed. And then my second point, I just have to share with you guys. My mother gets these phone calls from Nigeria, and she's like late 70s. And then they call, they say, we're calling from Windows, or we're calling from Standard Bank. And then she says, I don't have a Standard Bank account. Then they say, no, actually, we're calling from ABSA. And she keeps them on the line for 2 hours. She says, hold on, let me get my laptop. And she rushes off to get the laptop. And meantime, she's cooking lunch. And she's got them on hold. She says the longer she keeps them on hold, the less people they can scam. So she's had some very interesting words from some very interesting people telling her to go and do unnatural things to herself after 2 hours. So I thought that was quite cute to share.
She's a little social angel saving the rest of us. Thanks, Nix. Fee, you've got your hand up.
And just put my mic on because, you know, that's the new way of talking these days. So just from my experience, I was a security information officer in my previous life, and I was for the Middle East and Africa region. And I was traveling all over the region, setting up the infrastructure, the actual physical and Christine said, the operational side of the security. But on top of that, I was sent to Germany, and that's why I put in the chat. I was sent to Germany with the company. That's the third largest chemical specialty company in the world. And I was sent to Germany to learn from their hackers. So they've got a department that actually employs hackers to try and circumvent an attack before it happens. So they try and actually get past it, okay? And it was the most interesting experience I've ever had, but also the most scary, because they can type a million miles an hour, okay, to write a piece of code that can actually just go anywhere. So for me, it was eye-opening. It was like scary, but so interesting, okay? Because in my line of work, we had a lot of attacks. And part of my work was to actually inform people and train people and get my staff on the understanding that this is what could happen and this is why it could happen. Because one of the things, and like Nikki was also talking about, the PA that was working at the time, she was searching for airplane tickets, okay? And at that point, before we put in stricter controls, she could search the web however she wanted. And her mouse moved over a pop-up ad. That's all it did. It went over a pop-up ad. And as it did that, I was alerted because our systems were very controlled. In the background, they had all these security measures in place. I was alerted to the fact that that pop-up was going to take her to a porn site. And in that company, it was very strict. We weren't, you type in the word and you were taken to task, okay? But their systems were so strict that I was alerted. So my emails went, I got phone calls from Germany, go and find the computer that this link was sending to. So that's how easy it is. You don't even know that that is happening to you. You just hover over it and it sends it. So companies, they really need to start getting a little bit more stricter on the back end, on what controls the back end. For me, that is what I've seen and what I've experienced.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But yeah, very making all of us scared now. But yeah,
I don't mean to do that.
I think it's the sophistication of it, which is what kind of astounds people. It's not.
Absolutely.
It's not this rubber band stuff.
No, and it's not the person's fault. They don't know that this is happening.
Yeah.
Of course, like those emails that Lauren you sent. I don't even know if I clicked the link, but in the back of my mind also, but this doesn't look right. So you get to know instinctively that something is not right. And one of the things that they taught me was, if you don't know who this email is coming from, and it looks suspicious, the chances are it is. So just bear that in mind. That's something that I learned.
Back to the basics, as
Yes.
Carissa was saying, is having your basics in place. Really, really good. Tapiwe, you've got your hand up.
Hi, everyone. How are you? I don't know if you can hear me.
I can, thank you.
Okay, great. I'm doing the ports and everything. It's already late this time. I just wanted to say, first I want to say thank you, Natasha. I'm excited and we're grateful for what you're going to do for the girls. And I believe all the women in here are going to take up the challenge for the girls. But the one thing that I wanted to say in everything that I've heard with the ladies coming through the platform today is that we need more women in cybersecurity. But I've noticed that there is a buzz that is going on. It's on LinkedIn that we talk about cybersecurity. But how are we pushing it forward where it's needed? That's just the question I'm posing to the women here. Like, how are we pushing it forward for the awareness that it is actually needed within our society? Because I can guarantee you, I can bring 10 ladies here from our Go Coder program, and they'll tell you they know nothing about it. Because we hear of what is their background, back end, front end, but the real thing that we need to focus on is not there. So I'm just challenging the women in this room that how do we reach the message where it's supposed to be? The children you want to come on board to cybersecurity are out there, not on LinkedIn and in the spaces that we already are. We need that message to be known to the ladies outside. That's just my contribution, ladies. Because I'm also that one who's also finding out cybersecurity. I'm like, okay, maybe I might just jump in. So there are many of me out there, and I definitely would think that let's see how we can get it out there and so that the awareness is there.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I don't want to take much of your time.
I love that, Tapiwa, and I see Bhavani's got her hand up as in response to that.
Absolutely, to do it. That's something that we considered. So we've got at Deloitte a Cyber Futures initiative. So what we're doing is we've created a training program that we take to teenagers in high schools, as well as what we're doing is we're working with many of the universities in South Africa where we have talks. Where I've gotten, not just me, so they don't see my old face, they see the young, fresh ladies in our team, you know, the junior consultants that have joined cyber, that have, you know, something exciting to say, and speak to these girls and tell them about their journey. And we've done a few of those. We don't get to many of them. And we're hoping that, you know, with working with WICYS, that we can get people like Carissa, like Michelle. Now that I know Christine, you know, bring Christine in and bring Natasha in, so that when we do go to those sessions, it's not just Deloitte coming out and speaking about it, but it's something that we're very passionate about. As a mother, it's something that I'm passionate about. And it's something that's come from a disadvantaged community. I mean, I didn't do computers in school, but I was passionate about computers. And the first time I got to actually work on them is because my mother's company was getting rid of the old ones. And I started, you know, building my own business out of my garage and building them on my own. But I couldn't have done that without somebody extending their hand and saying to me, you know, there was a guy, Michael Straden, that worked with my mother, who said, "Here, come, let me teach you how to build a laptop. You know, let me teach you how to build a desktop and sell it." So we want to give that support, like Carissa said, that mentorship. We want to give it to these young girls, because I think all of us are not in this to, you know, win business for our organizations or anything else. We're in this to extend a hand, pull a young lady up, or bring a woman that's out there that's also up. I mean, another initiative I'm working with at the moment is there's a lady who's taking women that were in a previously disadvantaged situation. So they've been victims of domestic violence, which is another common issue in South Africa. And what she's done is she's put a curriculum together to help upskill them for cyber, so we can reintroduce them into the market. And I'm trying to get them on board so that we can recruit from a Deloitte perspective. But I want to share that with Carissa. I want to share that with Christine, so we can get them in Nedbank. And the more ladies we network together and the more we use these forums together, that's how we're going to help other women get in. And let's face it, we're in Africa. In Africa, women lead majority of our households. And if there is this massive gap in cyber, how do we get those unemployed women that are primary breadwinners into cyber? And I think I can go on for hours, but that's our passion. And this is why, you know, so many of us are supporting WICYS, jumping on the bandwagon and doing what we have to do outside of our day jobs.
Yes.
I hope that answered your question, Tapiwa.
Absolutely, Bhavani,
Yes,
and
thank you. Yes.
I love
Okay.
that there are initiatives in place, and I think it's very, I mean, one of the core principles of WIT Network is networking. And so please, ladies, reach out, get connected. It's not a business one-upmanship. This is like, it's in everybody's best interest. It's in the whole country, the whole world's best interest. And I think the kind of unsaid, but what you are implying is we need to take it to the communities as opposed to waiting for people to come here, because it is one of those where you do need access, you do need connectivity in that. But those are actually, in the bigger picture, those are small barriers to overcome. There are so many laptops that can be recycled. There is so many ways to obtain connectivity in that. What is not as easily accessible is the content, as knowing what this is and how I can do. And so it's just any ideas that you have, any initiatives that you're running, let's share them and partner to get them out there. So ladies, we're coming to the end of an incredible session. Really, I think everybody's just going to be, heads are spinning. There's so much going on. To the five of you on camera right now, really, ladies, thank you for your time and your expertise and your passion. It's shone through, and I think you've really just appealed to everybody. To my co-organizer, Michelle, thank you very much for setting this up. I hope we do more partnering events with WICYS in the future. And just to everybody on the call who joined us today, really, it's powerful. And I just get excited by these things because I feel like we're just making small changes that are just going to improve things for everybody. So reach out. Natasha's course, I've dropped the link in the chat. Sign up for the course, connect with these ladies on LinkedIn, join WICYS, join the WIT Network. And I look forward to, like, in 6 months' time, having another collaborative event and seeing where we are. How many of you on this call today have made career changes, or the young girls are getting into this and the difference that we're making. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Stay safe, and I will I will upload the recording to YouTube shortly and share it on the different networks. Have a great evening.
Thanks,
Lauren.
Bye,
Thanks so
everybody.
much, ladies. Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.